Hi everyone and welcome back to the second video in my journey of finding the perfect main for BFA. But first I want to talk to you guys a little bit more about the series, because my first video about the mage was kind of misleading and therefore misunderstood. I started this series right after Blizzard said that they're for the most part done with the class design in BFA. Right away I started with making the first video about the mage. However, I should have said in the beginning of the video that this series is about my personal experience and journey in finding my perfect main for BFA. In the previous video, the title might have given the impression that you shouldn't play the mage as a main in BFA. But what I actually meant was that because of all the points I made during the video, I personally was not going to play a mage as a main in BFA. Not that the mage can't be your perfect main. At the end of the day, choosing a main is a personal choice, which comes down to playing a class you enjoy the most. During this series, I'm just giving my opinion as to why I'm not going to play certain classes, and some of you might agree with me and some of you might disagree. That's just the way things are. But I do hope I've expressed myself well enough and that we're sort of on the same page now. And with that out of the way, let's get into some warrior stuff. Where shall I begin? The warrior. The warrior will always have a special place in my heart because it was one of my first ever created characters all the way back in vanilla. And I mained a warrior in Mists and WoD. Every new expansion I'll always take a look at the warrior because I'm just a very big fan of its class fantasy. The title of the video says it all. I'm really happy with the changes they made to the arms warrior, and on the other hand I'm really sad because of the lack of changes they made to the fury warrior. To make matters worse, the fury warrior is among those who are the most affected by the GCD changes. In general, the fury warrior is one of the classes that loses a bunch of abilities and gets nothing in return. Not even a new talent or ability. Okay, let's start with the big elephant in the room, which is the BFA Beta Fury Warrior. I think most people agree that it doesn't look very good, and that's even an understatement. To be completely honest, the Fury Warrior looks horrible. A lot of people that played a Fury Warrior in Legion must have had tears in their eyes when Blizzard said they're for the most part done with the overall class design for BFA, and are probably only going to fine-tune where it's still needed. Like I said in the beginning of the video, Fury Warrior together with some other classes are seeing hardly any changes to their talent tree and their rotation. Furthermore, they're for the most part losing abilities instead of gaining some new ones. Most people could probably live with the fact that the Fury Warrior would play more or less the same as in Legion, but in BFA, Fury is also getting hammered by the GCD changes, as Blizzard doesn't want you to macro all of your offensive cooldowns together for those huge burst windows. Which is kind of strange when your class fantasy evolves around that kind of playstyle. But I'll talk about the global cooldown changes in another video. So yeah, Fury plays more or less the same as in Legion, and unlike some other specs, they are not getting artifact traits or that artifact ability reworked in their talent tree, which results in their talent tree looking the same as in Legion. Well, almost the same, because again, for some weird reason, Blizzard decided to change the position of talents even when they're an exact copy of the Legion ones. However, there are some minor changes, but not very good ones. So let's go ahead and compare the Legion talent tree with the BFA one. As you can see, for the most part, they do look the same, so I'll only talk about the talents Blizzard changed. On the 30 row, Impending Victory has taken the place of Shockwave. I'm not sure if this talent will be back or not. Then it's all the way over to the 90 row, where nothing has changed. However, Bloodbath is no longer an offensive cooldown that you just have to press. But in BFA, Bloodbath has become an ability you have to hit the target with first, and only then you get the Bloodbath buff. It does good damage in the beta, but slows down the gameplay even more, as it's another offensive cooldown being on that horrible GCD. In general, Fury is also getting quite a big nerf, with our attack speed during Enrage being nerfed by 50%. I hope Blizzard will still make some hard-needed changes to the Fury Warrior, or will we finally see some game-changing Azerite traits that hopefully bring some hard-needed flavor to their gameplay. Currently in the beta, I would say 90% of the Azerite traits are passives. What I mean with passives is that for the most part it comes down to using an ability which buffs the damage from another ability or gives you some kind of buff. An example for the Fury Warrior, Bloodthirst has a 5% additional crit chance and deals X amount of damage when it critical strikes. Onto the Arms Warrior, where I had the total opposite feeling. I really like playing my Arms Warrior in Mists and also a little bit during WoD, but in Legion, Arms gameplay was for the longest time lackluster. Even more so when the retarded single target Whirlwind build had the best damage output in Taurus. But don't you worry, for those who liked using an AoE ability on single target fights, you can still play with this build, but it's not the best anymore, thank God. Okay, why were my feelings very different? Well, because unlike Fury, Arms is looking at some welcome changes. Like the return of Overpower and Sweeping Strikes, which are no longer dead talents but have now been made baseline abilities, and unlike Fury, your artifact ability is a talent choice. Which is fine, but again this means that the other two talents are more or less dead talents. Overall, the rotation has changed quite a bit, with Blizzard not making the Arms Warrior about damage doing Colossus Smash windows, as Colossus Smash in the BFA Beta has a 45-second cooldown down from a 20-second cooldown. On top of that, it no longer ignores armor, but gives a flat 30% increased damage for 10 seconds on the targets affected by Colossus Smash. The rotation might go like this now: Warbreaker, which replaces Colossus Smash when talented, followed by Overpower, boosting the damage of your next Mortal Strike, using Slam as your filler and proccing those executes with the Sudden Death talent, add Sweeping Strikes on top of that and you'll see some juicy numbers from your Mortal Strike. Of course there are other builds, but I found this one to be the most rewarding. I really do like the gameplay very much. The Arms Warrior again feels like an absolute beast, which is something I did miss in Legion. I think Blizzard did a really good job with the Arms Warrior, and it's the perfect example of how a spec can again feel great without needing a massive overhaul. Okay, as always, let's go ahead and take a look at the Legion talents and compare them with the current BFA Beta talents. Like always, I'm only addressing the talent row that has seen changes. As you can see, the 15 row has changed completely, and War Machine, Sudden Death and Skull Splitter have taken the place of Dauntless, Overpower and Sweeping Strikes. Some people think Sudden Death is the legendary ring reworked in a talent, which is not completely true. Sudden Death is an old talent that has been in the game for quite some time. But it does the exact same as the legendary ring, basically giving you a free execute no matter the boss's health. Skull Splitter is a new talent, bashing the enemy skull, who would have thought, and generating 30 rage. However, during testing it didn't come as a surprise that Sudden Death has crazy synergy with of course Sweeping Strikes. Second row, same changes as the Fury Warrior. On the 75 row, Collateral Damage took the place of Fervor of Battle, which has now been moved to the 90 talent row. Collateral Damage refunds the rage of abilities from the second target you hit when using Sweeping Strikes. Mortal Combos is gone, Titanic Might is gone as well, and Warbreaker has taken its place, which is our artifact ability and is a really strong choice, increasing the damage dealt to targets affected by Warbreaker by 30%. You probably wondered why Colossus Smash wasn't on my bars. Well, that's because when you do take the Warbreaker talent, it replaces Colossus Smash. Fervor of Battle has changed and now increases the damage of your Whirlwind by 10% and also slams your primary targets. Deadly Calm is now an unused cooldown in BFA and reduces the rage cost of your abilities by 100% for 6 seconds. In Legion, Deadly Calm was a passive talent, which made it so that during your Battlecry window, your abilities cost less rage. In the beta, Battlecry is now called Recklessness, but Arms no longer has Battlecry, which is now only for Fury. But looking at the horrible GCD changes, I think Arms Warriors are not angry that they're losing Battlecry. In for the Kill has been tweaked a little bit because you now get a 20% haste buff when using Colossus Smash or Warbreaker on a target below 20% health. On to the last row, where Opportunity Strikes has been removed and Dreadnought has taken its place. Because Overpower is now a part of your rotation, Dreadnought is really nice, giving you one more stack of Overpower, and it also increases the damage of your next Mortal Strike by 10%. Kind of what Whirlwind and Slam did with the tier 21 set bonus from Entorus. Add the Executioner Precision Azerite trait on top of that, and you'll see some crazy hard-hitting Mortal Strikes. So yeah, as you can see, quite a lot of good changes were made to the Arms Warrior, and I really enjoyed playing it. Let's recapitulate. Like the title of the video said, I have mixed feelings about the Warrior. I really like the changes they made to Arms and how finally, after quite some time, the Arms Warrior again feels like an Arms Warrior. It'll probably never be the same like back in Mists, but it's already a huge improvement compared to Legion. Which brings it to the Fury Warrior, where I get a totally different feeling. As we are getting closer to the actual release date of BFA, a lot of people are starting to get really worried about the current state of the Fury Warrior. Their gameplay is horrible, with them seeing hardly any changes, losing a bunch of abilities, and getting nothing in return. To make matters even worse, they are also getting quite some nerfs. They are the best example of how bad the GCD changes can be for a class that relies on bursty gameplay with a lot of offensive cooldowns. On the other hand, Arms is the perfect example of how Blizzard can make good changes to a spec that don't have to be massive, but makes the gameplay way more enjoyable. So I don't get why they wouldn't do the same for Fury. I'm not gonna lie, if Fury didn't look this bad, the Warrior would have been among one of my possible choices as a main for BFA. I do think that a lot of people are still hoping and praying for Blizzard to fix things or to finally show some interesting Azerite traits, but I'm still very skeptic. And that is all for this one. Should Fury still see some big changes, I'll obviously make a video about it. Nevertheless, put your comments in the comment section down below, like the video if you liked it, and of course, as always, don't forget to subscribe. For everyone that is already subscribed, don't forget to click on the bell icon next to the subscriber button, that way you'll automatically get notified when I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.